I'm Haley B. Miller, and this is Ohio Politics Explained, a podcast where you give us 15 minutes and we give you all the news you need to sound smart and impress your friends. Welcome back to Ohio Politics Explained. It's been a minute, but we are still alive and ready to dig in. We'll discuss the bills heading to Governor Mike DeWine and what lawmakers have in store for the rest of 2025, which is not much, honestly. Joining me today is Jesse Balmert.
Thanks for having me. Had a great Thanksgiving. Looking forward to a light legislative schedule next week.
We love non-lame duck years.
Precisely.
So let's rewind to before Thanksgiving. The legislature spent a long day passing bills so they don't have to work for the rest of the year. This included changes to age requirements for kindergarten, a ban on sex offenders living near their victims, and a bill to strengthen Ohio's dangerous dog laws. The last one is named for 12-year-old Avery Russell and was spurred by reporting from our colleague, Laura Bischoff, on how current dog laws fail victims like Avery. Lawmakers also hit the big topic of 2025, property taxes.
Yeah, property taxes have been a major part of their agenda for the past several months, in part because of concerns that there might be a push to eliminate property taxes entirely. Also in response to, people's actual bills. People have been definitely concerned about the rise and trying to find different innovative ways to cut that back. So there's 4 different bills that they sent to Governor Mike DeWine, and I think probably about 3 of them we feel pretty good about he would sign in total. And then I guess we'll see whether these concerns from renters are going to be affecting House Bill 186.
Yeah, so House Bill 186, the crux of it limits future tax increases, essentially. It ties those to inflation. But at the last minute, the Ohio Senate added a change to that bill that would adjust a couple of Ohio's property tax rollbacks, which are basically credits that homeowners get from the state. And they would increase tax credits for people who live in their homes, but would abolish a 10% credit for people who live in their homes and people who maybe rent out single family homes to other tenants. And landlords are really concerned about this. They think rents are going to have to go up as a result of this. And so they've asked DeWine to veto that part of the bill, which he could do. He could do a line item veto, but he still has not taken action on any of the property tax measures at this point.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a minute for the governor to actually get the bill on his desk, and then after that he has 10 days, and then there's some magic about some days not counting. So we assume maybe in the next week or so.
Right, and it is worth noting as well that a lot of these bills contain ideas or pieces of ideas from the working group that DeWine convened earlier this year to look at property taxes. That certainly doesn't guarantee his support, but I think it's, a decent sign that, the legislature and this working group that DeWine put together are on the same page when it comes to several of these ideas.
Yeah, certainly the lawmakers try to pass some reforms in the 2-year state budget at the end of June, and then DeWine vetoed a number of those items, which led to the working group, which led to other legislation. So as you said before, this has been kind of a long journey.
Now, a big reason the pre-Thanksgiving session went so long was because of hemp and marijuana, and not because everyone was smoking it. House and Senate lawmakers spent literally all day hashing out a deal over a bill they've been working on for months. A new federal ban on hemp made that a lot more complicated, but they eventually came to an agreement around midnight, I think.
Yeah, so this is Senate Bill 56, and it would make a number of changes to both the hemp and the marijuana policy. It would echo the federal ban and requires hemp products with more than 0.4 milligrams per container to be sold in licensed marijuana dispensaries. Yeah, I think there is a lot of concern about what that means for the future, especially of, this new industry, which really sprung up after the 2018 federal farm bill kind of gave this opening for these products to be sold, but there hasn't been really any regulation. And so we've been in limbo ever since.
Yeah, and Senate Bill 56 does carve out kind of a separate framework for THC beverages. Since the federal ban doesn't take effect for a year, lawmakers essentially gave Ohio's beverage industry a year to continue operating with some new regulations, but they can still sell drinks for on-site consumption and to go. I think the idea behind that is that, there may be some changes at the federal level. I know the beverage industry is planning to lobby Congress very hard to get some exceptions put into the federal ban because they don't feel like they should be subject to the same rules as like the gas stations selling THC gummies.
Yeah, so that is kind of the landscape that we're working with, is that the federal ban takes effect in a year, and so state lawmakers are trying to make some regulations in the meantime with the expectation that the federal law could be changed and lobbied and shifted around there as well. I also wanted to point out this nearly $100 million for municipalities with dispensaries, which has been on hold really since the 2023 initiated statute passed, is finally going to be released to local governments. So I'm sure they are throwing a party about that.
Yes, they are. And the bill does make some changes to the marijuana law as well, changes that some advocates are not particularly happy about. For example, there were a bunch of legal protections for marijuana consumers in issue 2, the voter approved law that came into place, but Senate Bill 56 would remove a lot of those. So you could be denied an organ transplant based on your marijuana use, for example. Another thing that's frustrating people is some rules about like transportation, and if you're driving with marijuana products, they have to be in their original packaging. They have to be stored in the trunk of your car. Otherwise, you could be facing a misdemeanor.
Yeah, and they also looked at, banning smoking and vaping of marijuana anywhere except for a private residence, which currently falls under the cigarette law, which has some exceptions for outdoor patios and so forth. So not exactly what Ohioans voted on in 2023, which I'm sure will be a talking point.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned, lawmakers wanted to be done for the year, and the House is, but the Senate will come back next week to vote on the marijuana bill. Did they have anything else on their agenda?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a light legislative agenda, but I'm not sure what else they could vote on. But I would expect at least a couple of other bills. There were a number of things that passed the House or one chamber or the other. Everything from, this Baby Olivia law, which would require this video to be shown about fetal development that was created by an anti-abortion organization, or a video similar to it. The Senate passed legislation about the 10 Commandments being an option to be in classrooms. So there's a lot that's past one chamber that is going to the other chamber, but I think a lot of those bills are going to go through the committee process. So I think the main event is going to be concurring, which means okaying the changes to the marijuana hemp law.
And despite the fact that lawmakers treated last month like lame duck, there is still an entire year left of the legislative session. So anything that doesn't get done before the end of this year is certainly fair game in 2026.
Yeah, the even years are always interesting. I would expect everyone to focus on the capital budget in the first half of the year, which is money for renovations or physical improvements to properties. Folks like to get that passed before they're on the ballot so they can say, hey, look at this cool thing that I got for our community. And then we have actual lame duck, which will happen after the November elections next year.
And one more thing before you go. Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno introduced a bill this week to end dual citizenship. The Colombian native became a U.S. citizen when he turned 18, and he said dual citizenship can divide a person's loyalties.